Okay, what do I think about Pokemon? Well, right now, Pokemon is just a shadow of its former self. Seriously, go compare Pokemon back then to Pokemon right now, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay, back then it had like 8-bit graphics. It was only 151 in red and blue, and then 250 in gold and silver. I'm assuming you mean those first two classic generations. And back then there weren't that many moves, and there wasn't double and triple battling, and there wasn't EV training or natures or abilities or anything like that. And right now, there's 649 of them to choose from. You can trade and battle with people over the internet instead of having to use that clunky link cable thing. And, even in person, you just have DS wireless. There is no link cable anymore. So, and the graphics are amazing in black and white right now. So, yeah, that's how I compare them, and on just every single point, the current generation's always better than the one that came before it. So, yeah, that's my opinion there.
Pokemon is repetitive, it is boring, it is so stupid, and it's just not that fun to watch anymore, just to be honest.
Oh, you're talking about the anime. Well, everything I just said is completely moot because, yeah, I agree, the anime sucks.
Now, back in the day, I was a huge Pokemon fan. I watched the anime, I seen the movies, I collected the cards, I played the games. Yeah, I was a huge Pokemon fan.
How old were you when Pokemon was coming out? I was like 11, so I thought, like, even the first season of the anime was really stupid, and it was a horrible misrepresentation of the games. So I didn't really get into that too much. I just liked playing the game. I bought some of the cards and played with them a little bit, but to me, it's still, they didn't have nearly as much depth as the games did. And it still doesn't. It never can.
I would never miss a single episode because I was just a huge fan of it. But after the Orange Island leagues and somewhere around the Johto leagues, it just kind of fell off on me a little bit. I noticed that Ash was basically doing the same exact thing that he was doing in the last two Pokemon seasons, basically getting badges, helping people, defeating Team Rocket, heading to the Pokemon League.
But, yeah, from what I watched of it, even in that first season that's in Kanto, it gets repetitive and stupid and really nonsensical. It's like Pikachu's, like at level 5, it's just able to kill Rhydon with Thunderbolts. That's just.
And a plot just recycles and recycles and recycles.
And I will agree that the games are guilty of recycling itself, just like everything else revolving around Pokemon. But for the games, it's actually a good formula. I wouldn't really do much to change it, because it's really more about like multiplayer and battling people. It's never been so much about the story itself. So that's not so much of an issue to me. But obviously you're not talking about the video games. You're talking about the anime based on the video games, and of course that's gonna be bad and start jumping the shark.
It was around that time that I knew that Pokemon was basically just becoming a relic of the past for me. It brought nothing new to the series, and it was just mind-numbingly boring now. But little did I know that it was about to become much worse than that. I noticed that Pokemon started to jump the shark right around near the end of the Johto series, and they started adding in all these new characters that nobody gives a shit about, creating all these different Pokemons that nobody gives a shit about either.
I like a lot of the newer Pokemon. I guess you probably haven't seen most of them, but a lot of them are pretty cool.
And it was just a complete mess. I mean, look what they did to Ash's voice. I mean, I can't stand his new voice.
Well, he's getting older. People's voices change. He's not gonna be a kid forever, I hope. He probably will be.
And it's not only that, it's the fact that Ash does a horrible job at raising his Pokemon. I mean, just look at them. I mean, seriously, he never even makes an attempt to evolve them. And he wonders why he always loses the Pokemon League.
Well, yeah, he was always a crappy Pokemon trainer. He didn't decline. That was always true from the beginning.
I mean, seriously, the anime is just so stale. Ash is basically doing the same thing. And it was about that time where I knew I had to get out of the Pokemon fan base.
No. Do not judge the rest of Pokemon based on the anime. You're making a huge mistake. That anime is an abomination. It should be burned. Please don't judge the video games based on the anime and leave the fan base because of that crappy anime.
I mean, even the Pokemon games are suddenly declining. Now, Pokemon Red and Blue, they were great games. Pokemon Gold and Silver, in my opinion, I think Pokemon Gold and Silver are probably the two best Pokemon games that were ever released ever. Ruby and Sapphire were good, but they just weren't as good as Pokemon Gold and Silver. Fire Red and Leaf Green were just remakes of the first two Pokemon games, and Diamond and Pearl were just mediocre. And Heart Gold and Soul Silver are just basically just remakes of Pokemon Gold and Silver.
To me, like Red and Blue, Gold and Silver, back then it was in its very primitive stages, and Ruby and Sapphire was when they were finally starting to refine it. And that third generation was like the most revolutionary of all of them. And it's just amazing that that's also the one that gets the most hate. They did like so much to improve the battle system and add variety to it. And and I guess a lot of people hate it because they couldn't transfer their Pokemon from Gold and Silver, but trust me, that sacrifice was worth it. There was some stuff in the programming that just wasn't compatible with it, and even if you could do that, your old Pokemon would probably suck because they'd have like a crappy nature and crappy IVs and stuff, and you'd still have to get a new one of them anyway. If you're an intense Pokemoner, that is. And in Diamond and Pearl, they added a lot of evolutions to old Pokemon that really needed it because they were practically unusable in battle before then. So those were some good new Pokemon they added there. And in Black and White right now, they like added the most new Pokemon ever. They set a record of adding 157 Pokemon in a game. And those ones are all new. They're not evolutions or babies or anything. So,
You know, I really don't understand why they keep remaking these Pokemon games. I mean, it's not going to be any much better.
and about those remakes of Red and Blue and Gold and Silver, yeah, that feels like a bit of a cash cow, but if you're a serious Pokemoner, like, they put some stuff into those games to make it worth buying them. Like, they added like a bunch of new tutor moves to teach your Pokemon some new moves, and like they changed some game mechanics too. Like yeah, I'm pretty sure Heart Gold and Soul Silver was when the power item breeding was introduced to make breeding a bit easier. So yeah, and seeing like a little updated look on the old Pokemon games were kind of neat, and it was like, you know, you couldn't transfer them from up to Ruby and Sapphire, so it was like, you know, they've integrated like the Kanto and Johto regions into the current Pokemon universe now. If I'm making any sense there.
But anyway, the Pokemon movies are another thing. The first Pokemon movie was great. The second Pokemon movie was even better. The third Pokemon movie was, well, it was good, but it wasn't good as the first two. But the fourth Pokemon movie was absolute crap. I mean, it was just, wow. And the fifth Pokemon movie was even worse than that. And the crap fest just continues.
Okay, I'll admit, back when I was a kid, I was blown away by those first two Pokemon movies. And then the third one was when I started seeing that it was pretty... ugh. But go back and watch those first two movies again, and you will see that they are just as bad. Well, they're probably still better, but they're bad. It was made for kids. They're bad movies based on great games.
Now, the trading card game, I never really got into the Pokemon trading card game because I didn't really care much about it.
Good! That's money you'll never throw away.
And besides, I would much rather prefer Yu-Gi-Oh! But yeah, I really don't know much about the Pokemon trading card game, and I really don't want to learn how to play it either. But is Pokemon dead? No, I don't think it's dead, but I do think it's on huge life support right now.
Life support? Pokemon's still the second highest selling game next to Mario. They are not on life support.
I mean, yes, the anime and the movies completely suck, but at least the video games are still decent, so that's one positive thing about it.
Oh, you do like the games? I was confused. I'm sorry. I just assumed, since you were saying that, the games were getting worse, but I guess you just meant that they're not as good as the classic games right now. But yeah, I guess from like the average gamer's viewpoint, I guess I can see where you're coming from there. But people who are like hardcore Pokemon players, like most of us, we only see the games as improving. They build on top of what was already there, so there's no possible way that it could get worse because it doesn't take anything away from the old games. Well, actually, there was one small thing that they took away, and that was an item called the Berserk gene, which like rose a Pokemon's attack and confused it when they were holding it. And they took that out in Ruby and Sapphire, never put that back in again. But I guess that would be kind of a broken item to keep in the game, but I don't know. I'd like to see what would happen if the Berserk gene was brought back.
But in conclusion, Pokemon is just all about the money now. It is definitely not as good as it used to be. It's repetitive, it's stale, it's boring, and it's just not fun anymore. So if you're a Pokemon fan, you take offense to this video, don't really care. It's basically just me speaking my thoughts about a franchise that was once good, but now it's just gone downhill. So yeah, this is what I think about Pokemon now. Yeah, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl sucks. See you later, folks.
Like I've said before, the anime and the cards and the marketing and all that stuff, it was always bad. It did go downhill, but there wasn't that far to fall from where it started. But the games, they've only been going uphill the way I see it. So, yeah, that is the end of his rant. But, EvilHeroBrian makes another video about Pokemon, and this one just cracked me up. It had, you just have to see this.
You know, I really couldn't believe it when my cousin actually told me, but they're coming out with a new 5th generation Pokemon. Well, at first I couldn't believe it, but I actually did some research on this, and I found out, yes, in fact, they are coming out with new generation Pokemon. Oh, great. More Pokemon. The number just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Yeah. Maybe after this we're going to see a 7th generation Pokemon and 8th generation Pokemon, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Yeah. You know what? I'm really tired of Nintendo creating these new Pokemon. I mean, these Pokemon don't even look appealing to me anymore. I mean, just look at this.
You really believed those were the new starters. You got trolled. Even if Black and White wasn't out in Japan already, I could tell just by looking at that it's fake. Those Pokemon are so bad. And if you really believe that those were gonna be the 3 new starters, then yeah, I can see why you thought this game was gonna be so stupid. But I mean, that's just gullible. I mean, people do this all the time. They like make up these stupid new Pokemon and draw them and try to convince people that they're the next generation Pokemon. But let me show you a picture of what the 5th generation starters really are. Yeah, those guys look a lot cooler, don't they?
Yeah, I prefer the 1st generation Pokemon over anything else. Okay, maybe the 2nd generation Pokemon because they were kind of cool, but Anything after second generation Pokemon has, yeah, pretty much sucked. And I really hate to say this, but the Pokemon franchise is definitely being milked for all that it is worth. And is the Pokemon anime ever gonna end? Like, seriously, it needs to end now.
Don't we all wish? But, little kids are still gonna keep watching it.
Or at least end it now and come up with a brand new Pokemon series with new characters, new plots, and just basically create it brand new.
That's just wishful thinking. But, I heard they did try, like, when they were doing the gold and silver season of Pokemon, at first they made a series based on the characters in gold and silver rather than Ash. It focused on the kid you play as in the game. Maybe you could try checking that out, but but my guess is it's still probably not that great.
I mean, I'm really tired of Ash doing the same thing in the same season, defeating the same enemies. I mean, it's really, really getting old. And it's not even that fun to watch anymore, as you guys seen from my What the F is Wrong Pokemon Now video.
Saying that really is beating a dead horse, I mean, the anime's been so bad for so long that it just goes without saying. And are you still like watching this like actively? I see it once in a while, but very passively. So yeah, I'm just wondering if you're saying these things because you're still keeping tabs on it and haven't really given up on it, even though you know that it's still gonna be bad.
Oh, and Pokemon Black and White, that's not racist, people. I mean, Jesus Christ, they're just names of games. How can that be racist? So yeah, more and interesting Pokemon keep coming out. The Pokemon anime never ends. Everybody thinks Pokemon Black and White is racist. Yeah, kind of makes you wonder why I kind of got out of the Pokemon franchise. Yeah, it's just not really that interesting anymore. Yeah.
I'm having a hard time telling if you're being sarcastic when you're saying that it's not racist, or if you're honestly trying to convince people that it's not racist. Because yeah, I would hope that you're not being sarcastic, because I mean it's really not racist. They're just colors, and it doesn't say like one is better than the other. They're both really like on equal terms with each other, those two games. They're just like, different flavors you can choose from. And yeah, I see people making jokes about it being racist, but nobody like seriously thinks that and takes offense to it, because I don't know, I guess for the same reason like there was an actual creator Pokemon that was a god of all Pokemon introduced in like Diamond and Pearl, and nobody threw a fit about that, even though there were like angry soccer moms complaining about Alakazam being satanic in the first games. I don't get that. I guess there's so many Pokemon now that the parents just aren't keeping track of them anymore, I guess. And yeah, those were kind of my thoughts and opinions from the perspective of someone who's like still crazy about Pokemon and loves the games. I pretty much, yeah, I love raising Pokemon and battling people with it, and yeah, so but if you liked the games once, I really hope you haven't given up on them completely. I recommend you pick them up again, but it does take a lot of diligence to and time and patience to make a good Pokemon team to battle with. So if you feel like you don't want to get that intense with it, I understand there, but just I've been playing Pokemon White and it is a ton of fun. I give Game Freak huge props for that one. Well, that's about all I got for now, so I am out.